computers and a brand new car. I can challenge this even today. Ambassador will fall apart. The doors used to rattle, the engine used to get heated up, and then you used to find, it's amazing scenes that I miss in my life in some ways. That there used to be cars on the highways used to be parked on the side. While they parked there, engines got heated up, they're pouring water into it. Do you see those scenes now? You don't. So technology has gone a long way in terms of giving us facilities. So therefore, from a consumer perspective, you are very fortunate. You get value for your money. But you look at it from a slightly different perspective, from the business perspective or from an individual perspective, as a technologist, as an engineer, it's very disruptive. What was good yesterday is not good tomorrow. Somebody else will come and make that disruption. There were companies which had disappeared in no time. If you guys follow what's called as Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is basically an index which shows how companies are performing in New York Stock Exchange, this particular index was started in 1991, I believe. No, 1891, with a group of 14 companies. That's how the index was started off, as how the stocks were performing in New York Stock Exchange. You go back and research those 10 companies, they don't exist any longer. They've all disappeared. The oldest company which is there in the Dow Jones at this point of time is General Electric. That's GE. So therefore, there is, while one side we're saying great world to live in, great challenges that we have, but there is disruption that's happening. What does disruption then lead us to? Is to opportunities. So you also live in a world which is a world of opportunities. But you need to move fast, move very fast, rapidly, to ensure you catch up with those opportunities. So what will drive them? The next buzzword is innovation. You need to be innovative in order to ensure you don't catch up with competition, but you're all one leg ahead of competition. That's how you could survive. So how many of you have heard this name called Mark Zuckerberg? Facebook, great stuff. So how old is Mark Zuckerberg? No. He's 28 years old. So he'll die if you guys tell him he's 39 years old. So look at this young man. And how long did it take him to build Facebook? It just took him 10 years to build what it is today. He was 18 years old when he actually incorporated Facebook. And today, how many users that he has? He has something like, I believe, 3 billion users. And a young kid of 18 years dreamt of this, innovated a product, and created a history for himself. And so is, I can't stop speaking in any occasion without mentioning about Steve Jobs. To me, a number of ways people describe him as an innovator, as a technologist, as a corporate leader, and a man who loved gadgets. But I describe him as a magician, because I cannot honestly vision somebody who had that marvel of a brain to create products one after the other, which were game changers. Not in one sector, but in at least 4 industry verticals. I could never believe that, a phone can become as small as this. It does not have phone, it also has TV built into it. It doesn't have just TV, it also has a computer built into it. It also has video games built into it. So look at those 4 different industries that he had impact on. He had tremendous amount of impact on computing, television, into telephone, and finally into gaming. And all that, gaming and animation, and all that into a small machine like this. I was told by Dr. Lakshman and Professor Reddy while we were driving down here that you have a supercomputer. You're installing one here. But I'm sure It has a lot more power compared to the iPhones that we have, because the iPhones of today are equivalent to the machines that we had in my generation, which were called the mainframes. And a mainframe machine like a 7044, which was there as the most advanced computer in 1970s in IIT Kanpur, used to have a building about 10 times the size of this auditorium. Actually, just the installation of the machine was in this auditorium of this size. So therefore, what am I trying to drive right now is that there is tremendous amount of opportunity, and people who are innovating will survive in this world. The third thing that I'll stop there, I guess, is to say that learning has to be continuous. Learning cannot be one time. I am 63. I have no qualms about sharing how old I am. But I keep saying, if I sleep too well, I suffer from the sleep deficiency syndrome, tomorrow I do not think that I will be the same as today. I will not be, in terms of knowledge, what I am at this point of time. Actually, by the time you graduate, technologies will change. So therefore, you have to be very nimble-footed to ensure that you constantly learn. Learning is the only way that you will be successful. We look at, we talked about computers and so on and so forth, but we look at the future at this point of time, and it looks so different from what it is today. I'm sure some of you are working on cloud computing, for instance. Big data, analytics, social networking, physical meets the virtual, virtual meets the physical, e-commerce, social commerce, S-commerce. So there would be lots of changes that will happen. So if you say, in computer science I am a good Java programmer, it takes you this far, honestly, to me, which is less than 6 inches to me. But what's the road ahead of you is miles and miles, as you at 20 years or 21 years or 22 years old you are. You have a life which is far, far rosy in front of you. And the only way that you can conquer that world is making sure that you learn. You learn constantly. So therefore, my third submission to all of you is that you should not even blink an eyelid when it comes to learning. Only when you learn on a continuous basis, that's the only when you will be successful in this world that we are. I'm so delighted to see our young lady friends here. 3 rows, I see a lot of other people sprinkled all around. And I can't certainly resist myself and tell you a quote which is a very favorite of mine. I don't know who the originator is. It's an anonymous quote. And I thought I should share with my young male friends too what this quote is about. I keep saying that the first time I came into this world, the person who touched me was a woman, and that was my mother. As I grew up and I played around with a woman who was my sister. As I aged and wanted a companion, I went and married a woman, and that's my wife. As I further age, I throw around my pranks honestly. The people who can really control my temper is a woman again, and that's my daughter. And finally, when I leave this world, I'll go back to a woman, which is my motherland. So therefore, if you are a woman, be proud of yourself. And if you're a man, certainly respect the woman. Thank you. Having said that, let me conclude by saying that I've seen a lot of my life. My story is very simple, especially the last 21 years or 22 years it's getting to as I get tired. I started this company with 4 engineers in my modest home on my dining table. I grew this company to be 12,000 engineers, that's what it is. And I saw MR, which is manpower requirements for next financial year, which says we'll probably add at least 1,000 more, I believe. So it's 12,000 people. We had no revenues in the year 1992. We now have about 2,200 to 2,400 crores of revenue. I started this company with 25 lakhs of my money. We have a market cap which is about 3,500 crores today. And we had customers, literally nobody in the world in 1992. We now have 97% of our revenues come from customers overseas, from the customers like the Boeing, the Airbuses, the Pratt & Whitneys, the Bombardiers, the Alstroms, the Invensys, the Philips of the world. All that is true primarily because what was said earlier too, our ability to manage all the 4 stakeholders. 4 stakeholders who made us successful. Our associates, we don't call them employees. And I think it's probably the right time. I believe 5 of you have been selected by my company in the last few days. 5 of you have been selected to my company. I'd like to welcome all of you to Infotech family, people who are joining us. And the second is our customers. We have tremendous amount of customer centricity and respect that we had for them. And finally, we have our investors. Actually, we're one of those unique companies, I believe. We're a publicly traded company in Indian stock markets. A little over 50% of our stock is held by either a foreign institutional investor or a foreign direct investor. It's a reflection of governance, the transparency we have with our board and our management. And finally, as was pointed out, the amount of focus that we have on corporate social responsibility. In introduction, people talked about our CSR initiative of touching the children from the very poor backgrounds, below the poverty line, government schools that we work on. But in the recent past, we've also started putting a lot of money into innovation in eye care. We actually created an endowment of 2.5 crores with LV Prasad Eye Institute. We made this commitment about 4 weeks back for doing innovation in eye care so that it's accessible to many more who really are deprived of the health care in this country. So finally, to conclude, I keep saying, I am past. I am literally past. What I see in front of my eyes is my future. So long as these shiny eyes and smiling faces, the shiny eyes and the smiling faces will be there for tomorrow, I think I am living in a safe world. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable suggestions and advices. I'm very sure that all of our students will change their attitude and become more innovative in near future. We have an interaction section with our student friends. So our Honorable Chief Guest is very much keen to answer your queries. So I request all the students, at least 2 students from girls and 2 from boys, at least to interact with our Chief Guest, Shri Mohan Reddy Garu. Please.
First of all, good evening, sir. My doubt is, in fact, my question to you is, with all the degrees which you have gained, you could have easily gained a job in any of the MNCs at your time. But why? How did you get an idea of establishing such a great company like that?
Sure. Thank you for asking that question. Certainly, I guess, I didn't have time to talk about, and again, pardon me, I'm very tired, is the other thing that I talk about is entrepreneurship. You go and join an MNC, it's a good thing, I don't have any qualms about it. I worked for the MNC too at one point of time. I used to work for Bosch, the German company. I spent about 3 years of my life with them. And but at the same time, if you have an urge saying that, I want to create something different from just working for somebody, you have an idea through which you want to make sure you create employment for others. That's all about entrepreneurship about. But entrepreneurship is not the easiest thing to do. But I urge, as many as you would like to go and work for somebody, you also should become entrepreneurs. Create jobs, create more amount of wealth for yourself and the society. So therefore, it's a question of where you try to strike your balance. Ability to take challenges. You look at the Mark Zuckerberg story or Steve Jobs story or several more I can talk about. Is that the ability that they could take risks in life and what did they achieve is something dramatically different for the whole world itself. So therefore, my messaging to all of you back again is some of you should definitely become entrepreneurs. Thank you for asking that question.
When you came up with this idea of starting Infotech, did you face any opposition and got support from your family and friends?
The opposition is very common in the society we live in. Our society is very conservative. Socially, what our parents, our family look for is a stable job. And that is one of the things that you'll also find is that actually within even jobs, my good friend from the left-hand side asked me a question, why not MNC? But the best jobs that people think about in this country is a government job. It's so safe, so secure, nobody asks you questions, you can go anytime you like, anytime you come. The value for money you get is infinity, because anything divided by zero is infinity, because effort is zero. So therefore, it's a very natural thing that the society, socially we are there. And culturally also we look at it, that we're a very strongly knit society. Strongly culturally we're knit. At the age of even 30 years, I certainly wanted to take the advice of my father if I wanted to become an entrepreneur or not. And understandably, he said I was making a mistake. That was the first attempt that I made, and I used to be sort of my first entrepreneurial journey with a company called OMC Computers. I spent 10 years, 1982 to 1992. But in 1992, when I started, seriously, 1991 is when I seriously looked at this idea. One of the people that who's been with me for the last 40 years, I believe now, in a couple of months we celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary, is my wife. And she put up a lot of resistance, saying that, you had a wonderful job, I was CEO of a fairly large company called OMC Computers, why do you want to leave and go away? But it's your ability to start thinking, saying that, I have to be different. I have to make a mark in my life. At least as sun sets on me, as I start hanging my boots around, I keep wondering, will I leave something behind in my life? I will say, yes, there'll be a stone on my grave which says, man who created a company called Infotech. So that's what is a passion that you need to have to convince all others. But resistance is always natural, especially in a society